This is a show I like to call Game Changer, a chance for me to dive into your save and give you some thoughts. Now, sometimes my thoughts are needed, and this is a save where, interestingly enough, Dale has managed to get Swindon promoted in consecutive seasons into the Premier League, and boy, are they loaded. During the show, I'll be analyzing how he's done. I'll use the data hub. You'll find out how he used that. We'll be taking a look at his tactics. We'll be taking a look at whether or not we can improve it further. So here we have the save with Swindon. They're sixth in the Premier League, managing to get consecutive promotions. In terms of their finances, I think this club is doing really well. I mean, there are some very big transfers that were made out of the club. And of course, we've got the tactical system that we want to try and understand. But first, what I will do is I'll come in here. You probably know that I'm not a big fan of the data hub. That's because there's lots of averages. I like to look for trends. I like to look for last 5 games. So what I'd like to do is take some elements of the data hub and combine that by visually confirming by watching some of the games in comprehensive or extended highlights, looking for patterns. A great piece of information, the last 5 matches short map. Very useful because you can tell whether or not you're creating low XG chances or high XG chances. You want to avoid a lot of chances with the head as much as possible because these are all low XG. Then you've got the expected goals. Now, I typically range about 10 to 15 in the last 5 games. Now, this tells me that you created like maybe 1 goal scoring chance on average per game. So this really needs to be improved. And then we look at this, half of them will come with the head. So this alone tells us that the quality of goal scoring chances needs to be improved. Well, some people might like goals from set pieces. Now, this is only useful if you do direct deliveries into the area. If you're playing one of those short corner routines, it's not helpful because every time your corner resets, and this happens when the opposition team starts moving out of the penalty area, then that corner stops being a corner, it starts becoming open play. And any chances that you create as a result won't be reflected here. Next, we're going to talk about the XG table. The XG table essentially is about the quality of chances you've been creating and whether your strikers are putting them away. And also the defensive side as well, the quality of chances you're affording the opposition and whether you're making it easy for them. Now here, if we sort this by XG, you will find that the team that creates the most chances has been Liverpool. Swindon isn't bad, it's 30.6, which is good compared to the bottom of the table, which is 18.6. Now you want a number that is green, which essentially tells you that your strikers are doing well at putting away chances. Now, if it's a red number, it generally means your strikers are bad. You got to do something about them. They've got chances, but they're not putting them away. So this is a function of the quality of your strikers. Now here is XG against, basically it's a reverse. So if we order this like this, we'll see that defensively they okay, 24.4. The team that's got the best defensive record is probably Manchester City with 18.8. What we want to do is try and bring this number down, and that's a function of improving certain things. Like we just discovered, set pieces aren't very good, so maybe improving the set pieces will do a better job here. And then we'll have to take a look at your tactic and your players. Next, I'm taking a look at your run of form. And you've kind of changed things around a few times. Like you've been playing the 4-3-3, then you've gone to the 4-4-2. I mean, it's not bad to be tactically versatile, but sometimes it's important to understand what works and what doesn't, right? So here we've got a 4-3-3. You're playing against Liverpool. You lost this game 3-2. Here you can quickly see that you were giving them a lot of good chances. They had a penalty, which contributes about, but still, it's still a lot of great chances for Liverpool, considering the fact they only have 4 shots on target. With 12 shots, and they generated a 3.0 XG. Now, that's huge. It means, as far as I'm concerned, you gave away some really good chances. So if we take a look at the key highlights. Here, Liverpool having a set piece. You've got one outside. This is good. You've got players running around. There's one player that's moved into this position. Defensively, so far, yeah, this is poor defending. Now, when I see something like this happen in a game, I immediately berate my team because this was just poor awareness and defensive. Because at this point, the players are covering their markers, right? So they are in the right positions. As the ball is kicked, immediately some of these players, we can only attribute this to a loss in concentration, marking. He gets away. So you can see the little shimmy move, right, from the player. He drags this guy away, and then a Liverpool player is left unmarked. Amaro is actually looking the other way. So when I see something like this, it's really important to use the right kind of team shouts. Now, in the game, you've got several team shouts. This is pure berate because this is a mistake by the defense. They've given up a very cheap goal in the area. At its simplest level, is purely bad defending. But then we need to go to our set pieces, we need to go to our priority list, and then we need to check whether or not the right players are set to marking as well. And the reason why some people might struggle with set pieces, although it's fairly easy to go download set pieces, right? The challenge is actually understanding your priority list. Now, what you did was in your setup, you got aerial defenders. Great. These are your defenders who jump, win headers, right? You got trackers. Now, trackers are the guys who are the ones that are marking those blind runs. You want these. This group is an important group. We just saw this guy just, fail to pay attention. Then you got blockers. Blockers can be short players who are great, brave, and they act to be the first line of defense. As a player comes in to attack a ball, they're actually there just trying to make it harder for them. So blockers, and they sometimes go into the wall as well. So they're the low priority players. Essentially, what we want from them is either they go into the wall or they're brave enough to stop somebody from jumping. So here, your priority was actually wrong. Aerial defenders should be right at the top. Second guy should be trackers, the markers. This is why we allowed that player to get into the area. So you need to sort this one out, and I've sorted it out. So I put the trackers in there. Of course, these are the blockers. Now, blockers are just going to be guys who are standing in the wall. Now, when you do something like this, what will happen is the algorithm will look and see, okay, who are the best aerial defenders, they put them in. Then who are the best trackers, guys who are marking concentration, they put them in, and then they follow that order. What you can do is, once you get more comfortable with the game, and I know it's a bit more of an ask, but you can look at your own starting 11 and make your own decisions based on that, which is what I prefer to do. But for now, I would say the best approach for you would be to change this priority list. Go from aerial defenders, trackers, blockers, and then counter attackers. Now we'll take a look at another game. We'll just pick one game. Against Brighton in the Premier League, you're playing at home, still playing the 4-3-3, and you lost 2-1 again. Here we've got a throw-in. Goes to the far post, and Hee-chan gets there. One of the problems I think most people have with this game, and I think that you can address it, is jumping reach. Yeah, you basically want decent players as fullbacks to be with jumping reach in the area. This is poor defending again. This is a loose defending, and it demands berate. So whenever I see poor defending in the game, I'm always berating my players. This time we're going to try and take a look at this game on extended highlights to try and understand our build-up play. Here comes Swindon with the ball. Clayton, this is good build-up. There's a lot of concentration issues in your team. Yeah, so we just saw one. That again is a berate, right? So you want to know how to use your berate shouts in the game. They're very effective. Single with the throw. Again here, the far post. I'm always paying attention when it comes to throw-ins to look at the far post. The ball goes down. That's okay. I mean, decent defending. And a breakaway. Do players get up? No. Again here, you might be asking your team to do something that they're not capable of doing. He ran with the ball and just lost the ball instead of waiting for support. That's a tempo issue. If you play a system where you're playing high tempo with a 4-3-3 with a few attack duties, then in leading the line, then you need those three to be able to beat players on their own. If they can't, then you got to lower the tempo, maybe change a couple of roles and duties. Defensively, I mean, you're not giving away easy space. So teams have to work very hard just to get into good goal scoring positions. Again, the ball goes to the far post. Yeah, defensively, you were doing really well. I mean, I think here it's more to do with the transition phase itself. You get the ball into these kind of positions really often. The player runs. This is what I mean by having adequate. Okay, this is good. There's support, takes an early shot. Again, the first touch. You're losing the ball here due to your player's technical abilities. What I like is that 4-3-3 didn't work for you, so you sank it into the abyss and you decided, well, I'm going to switch to something else. And you've gone with a 4-4-2. Now, this is a nice move because 4-4-2 can be quite solid. So here we go. The ball, Aston Villa having the ball. Let's see how your team defends this. Easy, Campese. You get the ball away. Good setup in roles and duties because the ball is won and you have support for the deep player. It might be a touch offside, but the movement was very good. So that's what we're after. Ball goes up. Here comes the second ball. Defended well again. Build out play. Once again, I'm just looking at whether your players are in support. Now he's in support. He's in support. He's in support. There's plenty of players can check back. He's got a passing option there. He goes to the cross. Yep, brilliant. Okay, so looking at your 4-4-2, it's well set up, right? So you've done the right thing by ditching the 4-3-3. Why? Because the 4-3-3 essentially does defend with 7 players. And you generally, when you're attacking, you're depending on those 3 players in front to do something with the ball. Now, in order for you to dominate more games, you need players to be able to be good on the ball in attack so that they can get others into play. So they have to be decent on the ball. What you've done is you've ditched the 4-3-3 in favor of 4-4-2. Now, that is actually quite a smart move because the 4-4-2 is a lot more balanced. It's got 2 banks of 4. You can get at least 4 players down the flanks when you need a quick attack. You've got 2 strikers for quick counters. And it can be surprisingly good for underdogs as well. So let's take a look at how your team is going to stack against the rest of the league. So to do that, it's going to be really easy. So you go to season preview, 900 to 1 outsiders. I mean, it means your team CA isn't very good compared to the rest of the league. Of course, we can go to the squad planner and then come in here, do a comparison, and then look at our defenders. This is another way of doing it. Physical attributes, let's look at jumping reach. Okay. Lowest. Hey, this is not making me happy, This is crazy, man. So tactically, I think we're just gonna make one small change. We just made the change of set pieces. I'm just gonna come in here and this guy's a winger. This guy, okay. Yeah, we'll keep him wide as this DLF drops in. This guy gives us the width. I'll tell him to sit narrower. Yeah, so he comes into these positions here. All right, so and we're gonna give him an underlap. Okay, we're playing against Liverpool. Okay, so our next match is interesting that you sent it to me, and I'm playing Liverpool. All right, so we'll ask him to sit narrower. So far, we've already played 4 games, and we've won 3 of them and drawn 1. We beat Liverpool at home, which was a pretty good result. Now, we opened the goal scoring with a well-taken goal by Hoyland, but this was down largely to your trigger press. As you can see, his back is turned. Now, this is normally a trigger for pressing. And our players, you have opposition instructions to trigger the press, and that really worked. We won the ball, and we scored the goal. Now, there was a bit of a mess up in defense. Now, here, we screwed up, and I immediately berated the team after this mistake. Following that, our performances improved. Here, we have another build-out. Here, we break down the Liverpool build-out, and again, pounce on a mistake at the back by putting ourselves back in the lead. Then we follow that up with another goal. And towards the end, there's a bit of slack defending once again. Seawall playing it to Arahau, finds Sane, and he scored the goal. I was pretty impressed with this win. 3-2 is a decent win at home, as you can see. Pretty solid goal. We created some very good chances in front of goal. And then in terms of our chances, 15 came with the feet out of the 17 attempts. I was pretty happy with this because only 2 were direct hitters. He's in fact become another goal-scoring threat. So we've got 2 goal-scoring threats coming in on the left flank, which is now quite dangerous. This, again, was a decent performance. I wasn't too thrilled. We could have done a lot better. This time around, we were shunted to the sides. Now, Leeds are playing with a 4-3-3. We started out with the libero on defend duty and the ball-winning midfielder on defend duty. After I realized we were not really putting a lot of pressure in the center, I switched to the ball-winning midfielder on support, the libero on support. We got the goal, the first goal. However, I also went back to the defend and duties after taking the lead, but Leeds came back with the equalizer. So one can argue maybe I should have stayed with the ball-winning midfielder on support. Now, if we look at this is pretty defensive. You got ball-winning midfielder who's going to be in this tier. We got this attack duty in this tier. So really, we only have this one ball-winning midfielder. So when you're playing against a 4-3-3, there's not a lot of pressure on their 2 midfielders. Now, if you play this way, you can put a lot more pressure on the midfielders because this player is going to be playing high up the pitch. So one could argue that this is a much better system to use against a 4-3-3. When it comes to your OIs, I don't recommend any show on 2 foot. You had show on 2 foot on your OIs. This is fine. And the reason why I don't recommend show onto foot here particularly is because you've got a role that's going to actually move into this tier when you're building up. So I would recommend that you only do that show onto foot when you've got two roles here that are going to be relatively static, like maybe a ball winning midfielder and a DLP. One thing I did notice, and this could be a long-term problem for you that you need to address, and it'll take you at least 2 seasons to 3 seasons to fix this. But a lot of your good players, they are not available in the Champions League because you sign them when they're 21 years old. And a lot of these players aren't homegrown at club. You need to get at least 4 players to be homegrown at club. Now, you've got some pretty decent players in your squad now, but Duncan Elliott is the best option here. But however, you signed him this season for 8.5 million, so he will only be homegrown in nation. So you need 4 of your players to be homegrown in the club, or 5, I can't really remember the number. If you can get these players in, what I would recommend is immediately moving him into the first team squad, because in my opinion, he is good enough for the first team. You shouldn't be playing him in the under 21s because he can easily come in and play in this position so that you have some options. He gets to be better in the long run. The problem then becomes if you don't use him, his development gets stalled. Now, he's only just joined the club. You can see his potential ability is quite good. However, he's not training to his potential. So what you want to do is you want to give him as much game time as possible. He's already 21 years old. You do not want to take chances with his development, especially when he's coach, especially when your coaches think that he has a lot of potential. Now, how would I develop this player? If I'm looking at his attributes, his concentration is 12, and his basic abilities are decent. He can pass the ball. He's got decent vision, decisions. Now, I would probably just train him immediately as a ball-winning midfielder. The reason being, now, in a 4-4-2, this is probably one of the best roles to train your players in because you're going to develop a lot of grunt abilities. Now, he's going to try and win the ball on the ground. He's going to try and link up play. He's going to work on passing. He's going to work on tackling. He's going to work on marking. He's going to work on hitting. He's got jumping reach as well. So these are attributes that are going to do well for him. Now, aerial works on heading, actually. So if you add in aerial as a extra focus, naturally, you're going to develop certain areas of his game that will allow you to utilize him in a way that will help your system out. So you can actually train him as a ball-winning midfielder. Once he gets his marking and his tackling up, then you can consider putting him as a box-to-box midfielder. He's only 21 years old, and he could definitely fit into your system. Your priority right now has to be focusing on signing players that are young. Now, I'm looking at your recruitment focuses. Now, let's just edit one of your recruitment focuses and see what you're doing. Here, I don't really like the recruitment focus like this. What you should actually do is drop this down so you can focus. Your focus is a bit more narrower. So go in at 15 to 21, keep it ongoing and leave it. Now, further details can always add my favorite thing to add, which is going to be height. Yes, I always sign players for at least 1.8. Then immediately, you might see certain changes. Now here, Germany again, another one that you've got 15 to 50. Drop this down, to about 15 to 21. This could be your play. Now this is a player that's going to be playing in your first team. So you're never going to find 15-year-olds who are like this, right? So you go up to about 18, and then you can go up to about 24. This could be players that are going to be good enough for the first team and who are extraordinarily good, right? This is quite a solid profile, but you're probably not going to find a lot of players who fit that. Now here we got under 18s again here is 15 to 50. You need to, if you're going to look for under 18s, you gotta be defining this. If you don't define this, it doesn't really help you. So drop this to about 3 stars. You can leave this as 5 stars if you want. Minimum potential ability, this is pretty high. I mean, I would probably go at 3 because you can find some decent players even if they have 3.5 stars, because these players might have the right attributes already in the key positions and the other attributes could be low. Again, go to further details, add in height, and you've got yourself a decent profile for a player. And then you can start doing this. Now, Mexico, the same thing I assume has happened with Mexico. Again, you got 5 in progress. If you do it this way, you'll find that the age gaps are, you might have a 17-year-old here who's pretty decent, and you got a couple of 25-year-olds. This guy is listed. Now, this can be useful if you are desperate, but you have $500 million in the transfer market. You are now focusing squarely on adding young players to your under 21 squad. So your focus right now has to be to strengthen your squad with under 17s. Now, the thing here now is when you bring these under 17s to your club, you're not loaning them until they're 21 because you want them to gain the homegrown at club conditions. So you need to keep them at the club between the ages of 17 and 21. Once they hit 21, you can loan them out. Now, once these players get their home HGC status, then loaning them out will further their development. Players like Duncan Elliott, the one that you just signed, or he's in your under 21 team, this player has no business playing in the under 21 squad. He has to be playing in the main team. The moment they turn 18, you put them into the main team. If they can't play in the main team, you loan them out. That has to be the goal for high value players. Now, this is a high value player. You can also tell that the game treats him as a high value player. You sign him for 8.5. Now his transfer value is already 42 or 33 to 42 million. This is a player that's got a lot of potential. You need to develop him correctly. While this club is in a fantastic financial position in the Premier League, it's got loads of money, it's punching above its weight. Tactically, you're not very far off. You're playing the system very well. You've managed to add some players to your squad who have helped you along the way. I certainly think Mara is one of your best signings. So is Sanchez. You've got a decent midfield that can be further strengthened. The weakness in the save, in my honest opinion, isn't your tactics. It's going to be your long-term planning. So what you need to do now is you need to focus on strengthening your under 17 squad. I know you have an under 21 squad, so go out there, add some under 17s, get them as homegrown players so you don't have to play with that situation hanging over your head. You know, you can't play your best players. You're limited by the squad size when you go into the Champions League. It can definitely be a bummer of sorts. Well, I hope you enjoyed this edition of Game Changer and you found it useful. Now, if you have any questions, please feel free to drop me a note. And of course, all the guys on Discord, Game Changer is something that you can do. You can always find the link in the Game Changer section of Discord. Pop in your save. Let me see your save. I think, like many of you, you don't need help with tactics. I hope you have a good day ahead. You guys stay safe. Take care of yourselves. I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.